Hey guys, welcome into College SportsCast. Tonight we have got a special episode for you. We're going to be doing a special tribute episode to Coach Mike Leach. He has been at Mississippi State the past 3 years and had a stop at Texas Tech and Washington State. And earlier, either early this morning, or late last night, he passed away in the hospital down in Starkville. So we're going to do a little tribute to him. I've got the guys on with me. I've got Mason Cross on his phone. So he's on with us tonight. And I've got John Roberts and John Hammonds. And I'm going to start out the show by saying, "Find inner pirates."
Yes, sir.
So with
We
that,
got our first comment.
With that, I'll throw it to Hammonds.
We got our first comment. Coach Leach was a great coach, an even better man. He will be dearly missed. That's a fact. You know, I remember when Mike Leach came to Kentucky with Hal Mumme and, started the air raid. It was a fun offense to be in. It ended up him being at stops at Texas Tech. He was at Oklahoma at one point. He was at Washington State, and then I believe he moved on to Mississippi State. And his interviews was something spectacular. You know, his halftime rants, his post-game rants, his pre-game rants. I'll never forget, there was one time where they was playing Kentucky. It was a couple years back, and he played the air raid siren horn during the pre-game conference. And it was just amazing to, hear him speak about Kentucky and what they was doing. So, but my favorite moment of Mike Leach is when he spoke on the candy corn, about the Halloween candy. That was probably one of my favorites. And then he spoke on weddings. I think this was the one where he was at Washington State, where he was talking about them getting married and that no matter what you did, the woman was never going to be happy the entire time. It just made me, he didn't care what he said. He didn't care what come out of his mouth. But the thing I love about Mike Leach was the fact that he was who he was. He never changed. He was always the same, regardless if you met him or didn't meet him. He was always the same day in and day out on his Twitter. He was always making jokes and putting things on there that was really funny. So we lost a really good man in Mike Leach. And at the end of the day, this has wrought the college football world something fierce. And to me, he's a legend in my mind. And that should tell you. And, reading the stories all over Twitter about what different stories that he had with different coaches, players, shows me that the kind of impact that he had on college football.
Speaking of that impact, his coaching tree and everything is affecting the game today in ways that many people probably don't even realize. So you look at some of the biggest players today, Josh Heupel with Tennessee, Hendon Hooker with Tennessee this year, and the job that they were doing. Lincoln Riley out at USC and his Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, they all are from Mike Leach coaching tree. So his impact on the game is way beyond what people think, and his reach on the game. I'll throw this to Mason. Mason, Mike Leach completely changed the Big 12 forever. Do you agree with that statement? Mason, I don't know if you're on.
He may
All
not be.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, he dropped out for a minute. He'll come back. He's on his phone.
Yep.
He says a truck come through and ripped out his internet. So I don't know.
Said it lagged.
How about you, Rob?
Lagged him out. All right. So there's a lot of things about Mike Leach that the college football world is going to be missing, and I mean, first and foremost is going to be the character of Mike Leach. He was who he was, and the person you saw in front of a mic on for halftime questions or post game or SEC media days or anything like that was who he was. And I mean, just from all accounts, from everybody that knew him, from all the media people that interacted with him, that's just who he was. One of the stories that I'd heard today, and I'd heard this before, but this is just everything that's been coming out today just reminded me of some of these stories. And one of them was the year in between when he was at Texas Tech and Washington State. He worked for Sirius FM, Sirius SM or XM, and he used to do the show from his Key West home. And sometimes he'd be out on the back dock. He may not always be wearing a shirt or he'd have his legs in the water or whatever, but he would be doing everything from his home in Key West. And and he would tell everybody about what he was kind of looking at or whatever. And then another one that I'd heard today, and it was I think it was while listening to a local radio station here, and the producer was telling the story, and he said that when calling up different guests and stuff like that, sometimes you may have to go through a handler or whatever. So if it's a coach, you may have to go through the SID office to get to the coach. But they said that this particular time when they were calling Mike Leach, they talked to the SID, and the SID was like, well, just here's his number, call him up. I'm pretty certain you'll be able to get a hold of him. And this was like maybe a few days before or whatever, and they the producer calls him up, says, hey, I want to get on the show, sets up the time, and 5 minutes before he's supposed to come on, calls him up again and asked, well, I mean, didn't think I was going to get a hold of you this quickly, so we can put you on early, or you can hold and wait until your time. And he said, no, I'll wait. And so producer's like, all right. And then Leach proceeds to start a conversation with the producer, and just so well, what's going on in your world today, or just very curious person by nature. And he just asked a bunch of questions, and I think they ended up talking about favorite movies and stuff like that before he got put onto the air. So there's a lot of those stories that have happened.
There's another story. There's another story
game.
that,
So
can I
what?
say something real quick?
Go ahead.
There was a story that Lincoln Riley put out today. He was talking about they was in their office and he was on the phone. And apparently somebody had called him, and the phone got the signal fell out, and they said that he called him back and he said, "Who is this? And are you going to be able to speak or something to that nature?" I can't remember how the whole story went, but Lincoln Riley said that they talked for almost 30 minutes on the phone, and Lincoln said he finally hung up on his old flip phone, and he said, "Coach, who was that?" And he said, "I don't know. They had the wrong number." So he was basically talking to somebody random on the phone for 30 minutes.
Yeah. Had no idea who it was.
Uh-uh.
Yeah. So, I mean, Coach Leach, everybody always talks about his press conferences and interviews and all that kind of stuff. to be quite honest with you, he liked to talk about anything but football at those things. Like he would talk about whatever. He he
Birds.
he, he had a business mind. He was most people probably don't know this, but Coach Mike Leach did not come from a football background. As a
No.
child, he played rugby. Okay, growing up, he played rugby, and he went to law school and had a law degree
Had a law degree from Pepperdine. Let's
at
go with
Pepperdine.
from Pepperdine, and
Yeah,
actually had come home, told asked his wife, said, I can be happy, or I could be miserable and we could be very rich, or I can be happy and we can not be rich. And she said, be happy, and that's where he went into football.
And that's where
But
he come up with the air raid.
Well, so what happened is Mummy, Hal Mummy was looking for an offensive line coach. Okay, and he had 2 resumes put in. Okay, and one of those 2 resumes was Mike Leach. Mike Leach had no football background at all, but the other guy turned out the other resume turned out, I believe, to be a fake. So it was left up to Leach, and he literally hired Mike Leach on the spot, and he turned down going to a law degree to work for Hal Mum for $12,000 a year. That's what happened.
bad.
Crazy. Yep.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, that's what
And he
happened.
got a hold of guys like. Then he got a hold of guys like Tim Couch, and then Graham Harrell, and
Yep.
Gardner
And what's
Minshew,
funny is Dave
and Rogers.
Dave Aranda is in that coaching tree too.
He is. Dave Aranda's there too. Cliff Kingsbury is in that coaching tree at Arizona Cardinals.
Cliff Kingsbury.
NFL.
Yep. And Graham Harrell, who is now an offensive coordinator
Yep.
right
Josh
now.
Heupel.
So,
Josh Heupel played for Coach Mike Leach.
yeah, at Oklahoma.
He was his first quarterback as OC at Oklahoma.
That's right.
Have you ever seen the? I guess it might be it might be a movie where the guy asked where Lubbock is, and he says, "You're the coach from Dillon East."
Yeah, that's what I was quoting when I said find your
inner pirate. Yeah,
find your inner pirate. Yeah, that's what I was
right
quoting.
there was a legendary.
Yeah, he had a cameo. And it's when he was with Texas Tech, and he says, "Man, can you tell me how to get to Lubbock?" It was pretty funny. You have to see it. I tried to get it to upload. I actually wanted to open the show with that clip. I tried to get it to upload. I might do it for the next show if I can get it to come up. But I tried to open the show with that clip. And I was going to open the show with Find Your Inner Pirate, Swing Your Sword. That's what I was going to open the show with. But, some things to, so then he teamed up with Hal Mummy. Hal Mummy is actually the creator of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Leach actually named the offense.
That's what I was getting with him.
And then added a bunch of stuff to it and was the innovator of the air raid offense. And they brought it to the University of Kentucky. That's part of the reason why I'm wearing this shirt today. My brother-in-law was actually on a couple of the teams that Coach Mike Leach and Hal Mummy coached. Now, he was the starting safety and played on the defensive side of the ball. So he had defensive coaches that he was more close to, and so he wasn't truly coached by Mike Leach, but he was on the team with Couch. He was actually the leading tackler on those teams. If you look him up, his name is Jeff Zerker, tackler on the '98 team that went to the Outback Bowl with Tim Couch. So, but I've heard a few stories through Jeff about Leach and Mummy. Basically, they were both eccentric individuals, little weird, little off. But what I loved about Mike Leach more than anything was he was who he was. And he was going to speak his mind. He was going to say what he thought. And sometimes that was not politically correct. Sometimes it was a little off. Sometimes it made people a little upset. But I'm kind of the same way. I speak my mind. I'm not quite as eccentric as Coach Leach was, but I mean, no, I'm not quite as eccentric, I don't think, as Coach Leach. But Coach Leach was an intelligent human being, and had a mind and used it like he changed the game. I was trying to get Mason to say so. When he went to the Big 12, when he left Kentucky, he went to Oklahoma to become Bob Stoops' offensive coordinator in 1999. And he chose Josh Heupel as his quarterback in 99. And that's how Josh Heupel got his start. And Bob Stoops had been in Florida, while Mummy and Leach was at Kentucky. And Bob Stoops saw how challenging, he was a DC at Florida, saw how challenging the air raid offense was. And when he got hired at Oklahoma, when Mummy was let go at Kentucky kind of at the same time, and he went to scoop up Mike Leach. He thought enough about what they were doing at Kentucky in the SEC that he wanted to bring that with him to the Big 12, or might not have been Big 12 at the time in '99. I can't remember. But anyways, he wanted to bring it with him, and that's how. And it actually changed the landscape of the Big 12 forever. Back in them days, the Big 12, Oklahoma in 1998 only averaged 17 points a game.
Everybody averaged only 17 points a game.
I'm serious. And it changed the whole landscape of college football. And it changed the whole landscape of the Big 12 forever. The Big 12, you go through and you look at all these people that we're talking about, the Graham Harrell, the Cliff Kingsbury, and the Josh Heupels, and the people from Oklahoma and Texas Tech, and Baylor does it now. And it changed the Big 12 forever. Matter of fact, I was reading an article today, and the article said that probably in the state of Texas, that the air raid offense is probably used by 75% of the high school football coaches in the state of Texas.
Yep. And really just through high school, throughout America, throughout the United States. I would think is the majority of high schools use some form of air raid or air raid concepts, and it's not just high schools, but college, the NFL,
The NFL's
every
using it.
every level of college too, some form of the air raid, which, as you said, Hal Mummy is the creator and Mike Leach
Innovator.
is the innovator, the architect. He made it work at
Yep.
3 different schools.
Yep.
And everybody kept saying, well, how's it going to be what's it going to be like when he comes into the SEC? Well, year 1 was a pandemic. He's 4-6. Year
Right.
1, he was 7-5. Year 2, he was 8-4. Year 3, at each other stop, he had made it to at least one 10-win season.
Yep.
So he had a 10-win season at Texas Tech, and he had a 10-win season at Washington State. And he took a Washington State program that was just absolutely god awful.
Yep.
He's only had, I think, 4 total sub 500 seasons, one of those being the pandemic year, which nobody really counts a pandemic year when you have 10 games, all SEC. This is your first time, installing your offense, your first year to install the offense, and it's, there was no time to do that. And so he was able to do that in year 1. He had 4, he had four wins. Like I said, it's the, one of his 4 sub 500 years or sub 500 seasons. Year 1 at Washington State, and then he had 2 of them with, or at least 1 or 2 over with Texas Tech. But there was another thing that Cole Kubelik had put out on Twitter, and this was in regards to him covering Mike Leach when Auburn played at Mississippi State, and this was Cadillac's first football game. And Cole said, Coach Leach finds me before the AU Mississippi State game. First game for Carnell as a head coach. He says, "You played at Auburn, right?" Where Cole was like, "Yes, sir." He says, "Can you introduce me to Caddy? He has enough shit going on, and I'd like to make this handshake as easy as possible." And I mean, it's the first game that this guy's ever coached or anything like that. So he's going up there to do the handshake with Cadillac Williams before the game started, and really didn't know how to do it. Just wanted to make it real easy for the guy. And he found Cole, who was doing the sideline for the game, and says, "All right, let's go over here and walk over here and do this together, because I want to make it as easy as possible for Cadillac." So that's again another story that, I mean, the dude was an all around good dude. There's that one incident that happened at Texas Tech, and I mean, it cost him his job over there, but
he fought it the whole time. He never.
Right.
He actually sued the university and everything over that.
Correct. And there was somebody that had either texted into the local radio station here in Birmingham and said that Texas Tech owes Mike Leach $2.4 million. And they said, well, what if they just instead just endowed a scholarship in his name?
Yeah.
And kind of paid it out that way.
Right.
So, I mean, that would be cool. And you may see any of the universities that he may have had a part of, been a part of, whether it's Washington State, Texas Tech, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Pepperdine. I can't remember. I think he got his undergrad at BYU. So you may see one of these universities or multiple of these universities.
Him and Mummy started together at like Iowa Wesleyan or something like that. Was their first.
Right.
Well, and the thing I read yesterday, that he got this idea when he was at BYU and Steve Young and them offenses, the way they run their offense. And he got this idea that he can make things work with it. And I think, that was a story last night they had talked about that when he was at BYU, he loved those offenses with Steve Young and that coaching staff there at BYU. So, and then
Right.
basically he turns around and he comes with Mummy. And after he leaves Mummy, the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he went with Bob Stoops, and then he had one great year at Oklahoma under Josh Heupel, and then he got hired on, and they continued Leach's offense at Oklahoma, and Bob Stoops won the national title the following year in 2000.
And what's crazy is another story about just even the offense itself and how just incredibly simple it was, but incredibly difficult to defend.
That's what it was.
Yeah. So, they're talking to Lane Kiffin, and especially since Mike Leach's last game was the Egg Bowl, and
Right.
it said, well, what was it like, going up against him, and you're the last coach to face him, and he said, look, I mean, obviously I don't coach defenses, but our defensive players were calling out the plays. We knew what was happening. We were calling out the plays and still couldn't stop it. I was sitting there, it's like the way they lined up, we knew what play they were getting ready to run. And in all honesty, he really only runs like 3, 4, 5 plays, and that's it. But because of just the way that they're run, that it is incredibly
It's
hard.
different motions, different,
Right.
different, there's all kinds of stuff behind that.
Yeah, everybody's moving. Everybody's moving. And so that
They
was
set
something
it up different. They may have a back, they may have a tight end, they may have, you know what I mean? They set it up completely different as well.
Exactly. And so that was it was just something that was just different, So,
and a lot of times it's the same plays over and over and over. They just mix everything up.
Right. I mean,
yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah. It was a lot like I mean, like you could even look at like, say, the hurry up no huddle doing stuff that was a lot like that, where you're in the same formation 5, 6 plays in a row, but there's maybe 3 plays that you're really running. I mean, you've got the guy that's coming across the formation, doing, in motion, you snapping the ball, you're faking it to him, you're faking it to the running back, and then you're throwing it. Or you're giving it to the guy that's coming in motion, or you're giving it to the running back, or you're keeping it. I mean, so when you're running the hurry up no huddle, with a kind of almost like a triple option right there, there's 4 or 5 plays in one setup and one motion, and you don't know what's coming. Well, the air raid is very similar. Instead of it all being 4 running plays and 1 pass play, it's 4 pass plays and 1 run play. It's the exact opposite, but it's the same idea. He basically took Gus Malzahn and said, well, what if we made 4 passing plays and 1 run play? And I mean, that's what it is.
Right. And speaking of, this, you said earlier, I was talking about it being run tremendously in high school, and it's run in college, and you said pros as well. A name that I want to throw out, they run this at Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes runs this kind of the air raid offense, and they, a few years back won, the title.
I mean, in all honesty, like the spread offense for the most part is very much a there are variations of the spread that have air raid concepts. I mean, you can look at just about any one of the NFL teams, unless you're just a straight up run the ball type offense. You're basically running it. I mean, I'm pretty certain that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are basically running an air raid type offense. Same thing with the Chiefs. You're running an air raid. What the LSU did when they won it in 2019. I mean, a lot of that stuff is air raid concepts. I mean, when you're splitting the running back out wide to be a pass catcher, yeah, you're running most likely an air raid.
Even this season right here, TCU's coach Sonny Dykes is a Mike Leach disciple.
Right.
And the offense that TCU runs with Duggan, I always want to say Duggan,
Just think in your head. Teach me how to
Duggan.
Duggan. There
Yes,
we go.
that's the reason why
Duggan. There
I
we go.
say it wrong every time. But anyway,
We don't do anything,
Sonny
but we
Dykes
Duggan.
runs this and was 12-0. Of course, is going to be in the college football playoff. Lincoln Riley is a disciple of Mike Leach. So two of the teams that Josh Heupel, in the top 4, 5, 6 teams that everybody was talking about leading up to the college football playoff are Mike Leach disciples.
Yeah, and while we're on the subject of this, just because I know we're talking about all our favorite memories or all the things that we're thinking about, but if anybody that's watching or anybody that's listening right now, if you've got any memories of Mike Leach or your favorite quote or one of your favorite stories or anything like that, put it in the comments, and we'll definitely read them as they come up. But
Yeah, absolutely. We'll put them up on the
yeah, so
screen.
yeah, so just we want to be more interactive with everybody. So it's just we had Matthew comment earlier, and so anybody that does anybody that has a story or a favorite just anything
Favorite game,
regarding
a favorite memory, anything.
regarding Leach. I mean, look, there are a lot of people that remember that Texas game back in 2008, I believe it was, with Graham Harrell. I mean, that
Right.
one was the Crabtree, Michael Crabtree catch. I mean, that was pretty awesome.
Well, talking about his time at Texas Tech, so before Mike Leach, Texas Tech had only made the Cotton Bowl twice in their history. Mike Leach coached them 10 years, and he made it twice to the Cotton Bowl.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Since Mike Leach, Texas Tech has 0 Cotton Bowls.
It's impressive. And,
all right. Now, also, Mike Leach took Washington State to an 11-win season in 2018. Okay.
Yes.
Washington State had played football for 103 years prior to that and had never had an 11-win season, and they have not since.
Well, it's hard. I mean, look, I'll give them that they didn't play 11 games for a lot of that time, but I mean, I would think that 10-win seasons were very far and few, if not
between.
0. On that as well. The other thing that I saw about Leach was that he's either 1 or 2 games away from being 600 all time, right? Is it 1 game?
I
thought it was 1.
Yeah, it might be.
Either way, if it's 1 game, what I've heard people suggest is that if they played and they won their bowl game, that you credit that to Mike Leach, and then that gives him the minimum qualifications to be in the College Football Hall of Fame.
Right. So the Hall of Fame, what he's talking about, the Hall of Fame right now for a coach has a minimum that you have to be 60% winning percentage to be elected into the College Football Hall of Fame as a coach. Mike Leach's record right now is 158 wins and 107 losses. It's 59.6%.
Yeah, so that puts him at 1 game off.
Yeah. So, and there's already been, today it's been all over Twitter and stuff that either they credit them the win if they win the bowl game, or that the Hall of Fame makes an exception because Coach Leach has had such an impact on the game of college football with his innovation, his coaching, and the things that he has done, the teams that he has coached and taken to heights that nobody ever done, and the impact left in the game that is still around and still going to be doing the air raid and stuff for many years to come. Um, a lot of people are saying that he deserves Hall of Fame. So that's what he's talking
Yeah. I
about.
mean, just for the innovation itself, you know, I mean, forget the fact that he was, just one game off anyway from being,
Yeah.
meeting the minimum qualifications, one win away. That just the innovation and the reach that he had without any of that stuff still, could put him in just for that, just for the reach. So, I mean, but
So
yeah,
if you want to be a critic, Coach Leach never won a conference title, not one. So if you want to be a
nope,
critic, there you go. But he coached teams that were abysmal, and he took them to heights that nobody else could do, including Kentucky. To be honest with you, um, you know, gosh, from the mid '80s under Jerry Claiborne until 1996, when Mummy and Mike Leach got to UK, there was a lot of terrible years from about 86 to 96 for about 10 years. There was a lot of terrible, terrible years. Um, and the innovation, they're the ones that come up with the air raid sirens. You score the touchdown now, and you hear this air raid sirens and everything, and that was all innovated at the University of Kentucky under Hal Mumme and Mike Leach. All of it was.
yep,
Um, Another name that I want to throw out that we haven't mentioned that is a disciple of the air raid offense and actually played at UK under some of this is Neil Brown at West Virginia.
right. Neil
That's
Brown, and then a disciple of Neil Brown. You've got, the current coach at Troy as well, right?
yes, John Summerall.
That's right, Summerall.
Yeah,
So, yeah, Neil Brown took the air raid down to Troy, and had really good success down there at Troy. Um, and I know, and I don't remember if Neil was part of this, but I know that Troy had some teams that beat some D1 schools, like in Oklahoma State, and I believe, there was one other one that they beat. That anyway, Oklahoma State was definitely was one of them, and I can't remember who the other one was. But Neil Brown then took that success and went up to West Virginia, uh, where he was following Dana Holgerson, who
who is
was
a
again
disciple.
a disciple of
Right,
Mike Leach, that
right,
who was with Leach at Texas Tech, and
right.
so Holgerson,
And
Neil
Holmes,
Brown,
he's at Houston right
he's
now.
at he's at Houston. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so there's again several different people that are out there that have, that have been affected or have, that are under uh, the Coach Leach.
So absolutely. So those
Yep.
UK days that I was just kind of reminiscing and talking about. So also Sonny Dykes was there as an offensive coach, and Neil Brown was a player
Yep.
in those UK days early on in the Hal Mumme, Mike Leach tenure at UK. So, um, just to throw little tidbits out. I mean, I know John Hammonds, he probably knows a little bit of this stuff too, but and not many people kind of give, I guess, UK a little bit of Kentucky a little bit of credit when it comes to, they basically hired somebody and said, "Come in and install this offense so we can try to compete in the SEC," because they had not for 10 solid years. And they had a guy that was on the team by the name of Tim Couch, who was the number one quarterback out of high school, and they were trying to run him in an option offense, which was about some of the dumbest things that you could ever possibly do as a coach and in football.
It's honestly like Jimbo Fisher taking Ben Leard. Okay, Ben Leard, who followed Damian Craig. Jimbo Fisher saying, "Why can't you do what he did?" And he goes, "I can't run."
I'll make a comment.
I know it was some of the dumbest things that you.
I don't understand.
I'll make a comment on this one. There was a game, I think, was it 90? Might have been 94, 90. It might have been Couch's freshman year, sophomore season. I can't remember. It might have been his freshman year. They went to Florida, and they was playing Steve Spurrier. And Florida beat them 73-7. And they had Tim Couch in the game. And like you said, they was running him in the option. He was getting it was sort of like they had him. I don't know how to explain it because it's hard to explain.
Is he a crash test dummy?
Yes.
I understand, Antonio O'Farrell. I could understand him because he's more of a dual threat quarterback.
Yes.
But Tim Couch is more of a pocket passer. And
Tim Couch,
you're literally
he didn't have any wheels.
and
he had
you're
an arm.
literally putting him in an option package at one of probably the hardest places to play and probably the number one team in the country.
Yeah.
That's a big no-no.
Yeah. And that's exactly what they did. And that's what they were doing to Tim Couch. And Kentucky was like, okay, we've got this guy sitting here. He's got the arm. We need an offense. So they went out and they hired Hal Mumme, and Mumme told them from the very beginning, I am not coming unless Mike Leach comes with me and brings this offense. And that's what they did. Went to UK and, Tim Couch got really close to beating Tennessee a couple of times. We beat LSU. We beat Al back in them days. Most people don't remember those type of things. But Kentucky beat Alabama in 96 or 97. I can't remember.
I think
97 because I think it was.
Say 97.
This isn't a knack on Bill Curry. And, everybody wants to jump on Bill Curry.
God rest his soul, too, but good grief.
I mean, here's the thing. Bill Curry, he won a championship at Alabama. And I think he was just one of those fly-by-night deals. And it just didn't really work out like they wanted it to at UK.
Did he also coach at Texas A&M? I just want to know. Curious minds.
I believe so. I'm not.
As a head coach?
Oh, I don't know if he was.
No, I don't. He was a head coach at Alabama,
and a head coach at Kentucky, right?
Yes.
You know the reason why Alabama got rid of him, don't you?
Because he's not the Bear.
He couldn't beat Auburn.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was referring to to Bill Curry because of his ties with following the Bear at Alabama.
I've heard some wild stories
and then
about Bill Curry that somebody threw a rock into his office in Alabama. I've heard all kinds of stories.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so that's a
well. So now, Bill Curry played at Alabama for the Bears.
He did.
Right.
I just think what my opinion on that situation is Kentucky hired him on a fly-by-night thing, hoping that he could re-energize the fan base and get them back to where they was, and it never happened. You know,
He had one team. He had the 1993 team that
went to the Peach Bowl.
Went to the Peach Bowl.
Marty Moore intercepted it and tried to run with the ball and fumble the ball.
And poor Marty Moore had the game won, intercepted in the last few seconds, and decided to run instead of kneel. All he had to do was take a knee, and the game's over with. But poor Marty Moore decided to run with the ball, and I think it was Clemson, wasn't it?
It was Clemson, yeah.
It was Clemson, wasn't it? And Clemson stripped him of the ball, scooped it, and scored with no time on the clock.
Man, that feels like Freddie Kitchens and Ed Sissom in a game at Alabama versus Auburn, where they in '97 in '97 he threw Freddie Kitchens. I can't remember if this was a lateral pass or if this was something that went to Ed Sissom. Ed Sissom fumbles the ball. Auburn got the ball deep into Alabama territory. They kicked the field goal, won the game 18-17 late in the game, and the offensive coordinator for Alabama was no other than Bruce Arians.
Okay.
Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
Yes. Super Bowl winning coach Bruce Arians was the offensive coordinator for Alabama when that happened.
Well, so Marty Moore might still be around. I don't want to say anything. Marty Moore was the leading tackler and the best linebacker on that team. Okay. But gosh, we Peach Bowl won.
What's amazing about that is I think the only reason they got to a bowl is because they beat East Carolina 6-3 in the pouring rain. They had to barely beat East Carolina.
I think they were that was back when you played 11 games. I think we were 7-4 or something like that. That team was, I believe.
I believe they were 6-5. They ended up 6-6. Yeah, they ended up 6-6.
I can't remember
because they played Kent State at the beginning of the year, or not Kent State, Indiana. I was actually there. That was my first game as a little kid.
Yeah. Oh, I went to a few games back then as well. I mean, I went to games and seen the Jerry Claiborne years, the 83, 84 Hall of Fame Bowl years and stuff. But in 93 was when I graduated. I was 18 in 93. So I remember that year pretty good. I couldn't remember their exact record. But they got to play in the Peach Bowl, which,
back then was a big deal. I mean,
it's a big deal.
It still is, but back then they just, no matter what your record was, they gave you an invite.
Right. But so anyway, that's kind of got off what we were talking about, but that was the only year that Bill Curry was any good whatsoever at UK. And then he spent a couple of years with some dual threat quarterbacks and kind of made switch, and everything was kind of the option thing, that I was talking about. And then they brought in Tim Couch, and they were trying to make Tim Couch run the option. All right.
Yeah.
And it just, Tim Couch had one of the best arms in college football. And when I said there was only one other guy that could compete with Tim Couch as far as quarterback and his arm in those days, and that was none other than Peyton Manning.
They had some doozy of games against each other.
Yeah, that was none other than Peyton Manning. So Peyton come out the year before. Tim Couch stayed for his junior year. Stayed for his junior year at Kentucky. Tim Couch was the number one pick the following year.
Mm-hmm.
So in those days, when Couch was having his stellar years, was under Hal Mummy and Mike Leach. And Sonny Dykes was there as well on that offense. Just to throw out some names, because Sonny Dykes is actually at TCU right now and is going to be playing for college football championship come, I think the games are December 30th, right?
That should be the 31st.
I think they're the 30th this time, I believe.
Friday? They're on Friday instead of Saturday?
Let me look. I got it right here, but I'm pretty sure the first. I might be wrong. No, I am wrong. They are going to be on the 31st. I thought I seen.
Yep.
I thought I seen where it was off this time, but maybe not. I guess not. It is the 31st.
That's because if they did it on 30th, it would be on a Friday, and there's nobody that's going to watch college football on a Friday. Even though it is on New Year's Eve, the 31st, it is a Saturday, which is a normal day for college football. And why not put college football on its normal day, Saturday?
Right.
Which that's why all the bowl games, the New Year's Day bowl games, will be Monday, because of none of them are going to be played on the day of the NFL, which will be Sunday, including, I believe,
really
the Rose
weird
Bowl, which is the only time. It's the only time the Rose Bowl does not play on January 1st, is when January 1st lands on a Sunday, which it happens this year.
This year, right.
Or next year, really, technically.
Right. All right. So to kind of go into that, I wanted each of us to kind of exclude the college football playoff bowls, okay? Because everybody will want to watch the college football playoff bowls. But our pick six tonight, I kind of wanted to do each one of us kind of go around and pick your top six bowl games to watch outside of the college football playoff.
I'm not going to pick a top six. I'm just going to put not in order. They're not going to be in order. They're just going to be six.
Well, it don't have to be in order.
But I'm going to go. I'll go first.
Okay.
The first one that I'm going to give you is the Holiday Bowl, Oregon and North Carolina.
Always a good one.
That should be a really good game offensively. Neither one of them really play much defense. I mean, Oregon maybe a little bit more than North Carolina, but with this game, you got a lot of offensive fireworks. The second game, I would have to say, I think Oklahoma versus Florida State will be a good game. You got Jordan Travis, FSU against Dylan Gabriel. That's going to be a really fun game to watch. Then I'm going to go with the Alamo Bowl, Texas and Washington. I think that will be a really good game. Probably one of the finer games outside of the college football playoff. The next one would be the Lou Holtz Bowl, South Carolina, Notre Dame.
That's a good one.
I just want to see how South Carolina, connects with, Notre Dame. You got two young, brilliant mind coaches going up against each other, in Freeman and Beamer, and we'll just see what happens in that game. I like Notre Dame in that game, but I think the way South Carolina's playing right now, I think they got a shot in this game as well.
They did lose their offensive coordinator.
They did, but I think this will be a adding by subtraction, if you want to really know the truth about it. I think Satterfield done good towards the end, but I think a lot of fans had pretty much given up on him towards the end of the year. So maybe a fresh change will do them some good. How many more I got left? I think two.
Yeah.
The other one would have to be the Orange Bowl between Tennessee and Clemson. You got young Cade Klubnik versus, a young guy and Joe Milton. Now that Hendon Hooker's not in the matchup now, I think if it had been Hendon Hooker, I think Tennessee would have had a better chance at winning this game. I just don't think that they have the offense. They still got the offense, but it's a little bit different without Hendon Hooker. And Clemson's got a really good defense too. So Clemson will challenge Tennessee in this game, in my opinion. And Tennessee will do the same there, but Tennessee's defense is going to have to really play some ball because that kid that's standing back there in the pocket, Cade, he's an absolute gunslinger. He can really play football. I'm trying to see the last one. I'm going to go this way. And I know we just talked about Leach, but I'm going to go Mississippi State and Illinois. Today they said that they was going to honor Leach at the bowl game with the cowbells and whatnot. And I think you won't see a team play any harder than what Mississippi State is about to play here in about a month. I think that this will energize them, that they'll play for their coach, play for his memory, and just honor him in the way that he should be honored. And I think Mississippi State's going to do that.
All right. John Roberts, what's your 6 bowl games?
I'm definitely down with the with which one was it? The Holiday Bowl that you were talking about, and definitely down with the one with Mississippi State. But a few others to touch base on is one being the Cheez-It Bowl, all right? Because the Cheez-It Bowl is always the stupidest bowl game in the year where it has the weirdest crap happen, okay? And this year, the Cheez-It Bowl, and I, for whatever reason, just had it, and now I've lost it as to who is actually in it. Here it is. It is Florida State and Oklahoma, so you can have all the different people opt out of this game. It doesn't matter. The Cheez-It Bowl is going to be stupid. It's going to have something that you've never seen happen in football before. You should watch this game, okay? Watch it because of the stupidity of the game, okay? The next one is the Texas Bowl, and that's Texas Tech and Ole Miss. And the one thing that you will not see in this game is defense. There will not be defense in this game, and that is what you want in an exhibition game. No defense. This will be just like the NFL Pro Bowl. There will not be defense. People will be scoring left and right. Expect the score to make it to 100. Yes. Texas Bowl. That is the second bowl game that you definitely want to watch. The exact opposite. I want to completely do a 180 in watching bowl games for offense, and you guys have guessed it. It's the Music City Bowl, where there will be exactly 0 offense in this game. It will be Iowa versus Kentucky, and there will just watch the special teams, because something stupid will happen in that. Like a block kick, a missed punt, I don't care. It will be.
I'm going to be honest with you. What's the odds of this game coming down to a special teams blunder with the way Kentucky special teams?
And I bet you that there will be a blunder on both sides. I think it will be hilarious.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Hey, I've only done 3. I've done 3. Yeah. I've only done 3. Here.
Well, you said 2.
No, I said I liked what he did. I did not say that those are part of my 6.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, there you go. So the Sun Bowl is also one that's dumb, and we've got UCLA and Pitt. Very much opposites of each other, and I would love to see what opposites do. Most of the time you say they attract, but they will go out there. They both have nice powder blue and gold or yellow, whatever the hell you want to call those colors, and it will be pretty awesome. Just like having the stupid Orange Bowl where you have just nothing but crazy orange. I would love to see both of these teams wear their powder blues in this game. And then let's see. I know I've seen everything that I wanted to see here. Hell, Washington and Texas in the Alamo Bowl. I think you touched on this one, but that one would be a really good one to watch. And one more. Duke's.
Mayo
Nope.
Bowl.
Nope. Sorry, it's not Duke's Mayo Bowl. It's the military bowl that has Duke in it. You'll have
Yes.
Duke and UCF, and I predict Duke wins it by 2 touchdowns. Why? Because Gus Malzahn doesn't win bowl games.
I don't think that
He opts out of coaching just as much as everybody else opts out of playing.
I don't think that's the Armed Forces Bowl.
It's the military bowl. I'm
Look
reading
me
it
over
right here.
man.
It's the military bowl.
He opts out of coaching.
He opts out of coaching every
Okay.
bowl game.
There's an Armed Forces Bowl too. I got confused.
That's a different
my
bowl
goodness.
game.
You're killing me.
And then you gotta love it, don't you? And then of course I'm going to throw out one that is that is near and dear to my heart, and I don't think I'll actually be able to get to watch it, but you know what? We'll see. And that is going to be I believe, where did they go? They should be one of the first bowl games. Oh, yep, they are. Bahamas Bowl, Miami of Ohio, and UAB. And that will actually be at
That's actually
11:30
the first bowl Friday night.
a.m. 11:30 a.m. Friday morning.
Oh, it's Friday morning?
This Friday morning. Yep.
Okay. I know it's played Friday.
Correct. And then you got the Cure Bowl too. So, but yeah, those are mine, and they're all for the most dumb and stupid reasons, because these are all exhibition games, and we're only here to be entertained, not necessarily to have the best football to be watching for these games here.
Okay. I got you. You definitely threw some of those in there. You had me cracking up. So, all right. So nobody mentioned the Rose Bowl. I'm going to mention the Rose Bowl.
We were not mentioning the New Year's Six. I know you said playoff, but I think we avoided the New Year's Six altogether.
Right.
So
Yeah,
if you want to jump in with the New Year's Six, great.
Well, I mean, he mentioned the orange. So
he did.
With Tennessee and Clemson. So
I was doing my best to avoid the New Year's Six.
The New Year's Six, yeah. So, all right. So you've got Penn State versus Utah. I find it interesting because Utah opened the season with Florida, and there's a lot of talk that they're coming to the East Coast and playing the power conferences, and Utah is the winner of the 12 and are going on the West Coast playing an East Coast team in the Rose Bowl to finish the season. And I find that kind of interesting, and we'll see what happens
An
with
East Coast team that finished third in their division.
10-2 and like around 10th in the country.
Their two losses came to the other two teams in their division.
Yes,
that
Michigan
they could not
and
beat.
Ohio State. Yes,
correct. Yes,
and then another game that nobody mentioned is the Cotton Bowl, and I'm interested in this game just because I want to see what Tulane can do, what the Green Wave can do against Lincoln Riley and USC. No other reason. I don't. If USC wins this game by 30, I could care less. Okay.
Who's playing instead of Caleb Williams?
I'm not real sure, to be honest with you.
I mean, I don't know if Caleb Williams is not playing. I'm just assuming with the injury that he had at the end of the.
Right. I assume he's not going to play.
I mean, even though it's not like he's opting out of next year.
Tulane finished 11-2, and they are the top ranked non-Power 5 team, and I just it's an interesting thing. I want to see how the Green Wave do against the the mighty Lincoln Riley and USC. So that's why I'm going to throw that game in there. Um, I'm gonna agree with Hammonds on the Notre Dame South Carolina bowl game, which is the Gator Bowl.
No,
I
it's the
think
Lou
it's
Holtz Bowl.
the Lou Holtz Bowl,
That's
right?
right. There you go, Lou Holtz.
I think it's interesting. The way South Carolina finished the year, the way Notre Dame finished the year. To be quite honest with you, everybody's kind of saying South Carolina the way they finished the year, but most people don't realize Notre Dame was like 2-3 or something early on in the year and finished 8-4 and beat Clemson, won some big games down the stretch. So it's kind of interesting that game is. I also agree with Alamo Bowl. I think Texas versus Washington will be a fun game to watch. How many have I mentioned?
Keep going. What do you
Is
need?
that 4?
I don't know, 3 or 4.
All right, so this weekend, I'm going to mention one here. This weekend, UTSA plays Troy, and we were talking about Troy being a descendant disciple of the Mike Leach system and the air raid system and stuff. And Troy is coached by John Summerall, who has been a Kentucky guy, and he was up there when Kentucky was doing the air raid and stuff a long time ago as well. And this is his first season, and they are 11-2. Matter of fact, I threw in the Tulane game with USC. The other two teams that have a shot to finish as the highest non-Power 5 conference team is the winner of this game, UTSA versus Troy. They are both 11-2 as well. So, and that game is this weekend. It's on Friday at 2:00 Eastern Time on ESPN. So, and then the last game I'm going to talk about is Mississippi State and the Real Quest Bowl. Okay. It is being played on January 2nd. Again, these would be normal January 1st games, but because it falls on a Sunday, they're moved to Monday, January 2nd. And I'm going to bring this up, and this kind of be our last point of the night. This is our tribute to Coach Mike Leach. This game is played in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers
The pirate ship.
football stadium.
There you go. That's
There
how
you
it.
go.
That's
This
that's
game
how
is-
you end it. That's how you end it.
That's how you end it right there. It's the Buccaneers, and there's no better way for Mike Leach to go out. If he has to go out, there's no better way than to him ride off on the pirate ship.
There you go. Now, hey, one more game.
Swing your sword.
This is before you do any more pirate stuff, because I know that you want to end on that. The game to most likely cause you to gouge your eye out to where you have to wear an eye patch. Cincinnati versus Louisville in the Fenway Bowl.
Gosh. Yes. Okay. Did you read my tweet on that about Louisville?
I did not.
Okay, so Louisville, Satterfield left and went to Cincinnati. Okay, they're playing.
Oh
Cincinnati.
yeah, that's right. So they're playing their
Right. So Satterfield left, went to Cincinnati. They're playing Cincinnati. Well, Satterfield, not only did he leave, he took 5 coaches with him. Okay, and they are completely screwing over Louisville. Louisville has a director of player personnel as their interim coach, Dion Branch, okay? and they have 3 coaches left on their roster.
So what you're saying is bet the house on Louisville.
They have a defensive line coach. They have an outside linebacker coach, and they have like an O-line coach. They don't even have a coordinator. They don't even know who's going to call the offensive and defensive plays.
Bet the house on Louisville.
I don't know.
Neither does Cincinnati. They don't know who's going to do it either. So
Well, Cincinnati lost their stuff too, but I bet you Satterfield's going to be over there with Cincinnati.
it's in the Ohio River. That's where it's at.
Yep. Anyways, you totally ruined.
I know.
You totally
I ruined.
my pirate ship.
God. Can we edit that? just do it in post. Do it in post.
That's how
we can. There is
you
no
have no
post.
idea. I had been setting that up and hoping that nobody would say nothing.
I meant to interject before as I could tell where it was going. I was like, crap, I'm about to ruin the ending. I'm sorry. Because it was something that I was it was staring right at me as I was looking at the games, and I was like, this is a game that's going to make you want to like not ever watch football again.
And
Louisville
that is
and
so
Cincinnati.
true. The Cincinnati-Louisville game, no. Hey, there's Hammond's back again.
Hey,
All right,
back.
so we're being sponsored by Reaper Apparel Company. You can use that code, get 10% off. If you use that link, it will help support us. Go ahead, Hammonds.
I'm trying to get my dog. He's all over the place.
Oh, all right. Just a few little things here, and then we'll wrap this up. This is our Linktree page. I've got this coming up. You can do everything that we have, whether it be our TikTok, our Twitter, all of our Twitters. Actually, all 3 of us are on there. We have a Christmas giveaway for a logo cap on there right now. YouTube channel, Twitch channel, all that stuff is on there, and we stream live. And then one of the last things that I will talk about here, get this pulled up, is that we are now being featured on a YouTube channel network called the Real Fresh Channel. On Sunday evenings, you can check us out on the Real Fresh Channel. This guy has other podcasts on there. At the bottom of the screen, you can see he does pay-per-view wrestling events and sports pods, comedy pods, murder mystery pods. He has a lot of different things on his channel. Check him out at the Real Fresh Channel on YouTube or on Twitter. He's on also the Real Fresh Channel. So you can check him out there. And we'll kind of wrap this up. I was hoping to end the show on the pirate, but anyways, we'll
go back.
We'll wrap
go back
this
to the
up.
pirate ship.
January 2nd, the Real Quest Bowl, Mississippi State versus Illinois. Okay, the game is being played in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium in Tampa. And you have pirates in the pirate ship. And there's no better way for Mike Lee to go out, if he has to go out, than to ride off on the pirate ship.
Yo ho, yo ho,
Find
pirates
your inner
life for
pirate.
me.
So you're supposed to swing your sword like this, not like this.
Hey, I was on a phone call earlier. That's why I had to log off.
All right, man. Swing your sword like
Everybody
this.
thinking I just run away here.
All right. We'll wrap this up, guys.
One more thing. I'm not sure if you mentioned it. We have a January 1st.
New Year's Eve.
with Coleman?
I haven't yet, but you can. It's going to be New Year's Eve. That's when the Music City Bowl is, and Louisville and Kentucky play on the same day at the same time.
Yeah. And the Bar Banter podcast thing, I think that's this week.
We've pushed that one back.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, we pushed it back. We got both sides have got a lot of stuff going on within the next couple of days. So I think they're actually pushing back their recording tomorrow as well, and we pushed them. Probably going to end up waiting until the new year. I've got a few others that are lined up about that time too.
You got to think too. Right now it's Christmas time, man, and there's a lot of people who got things going on. And
some of them have small children as well. So
yeah.
What John was talking about on New Year's Eve, we're planning to have a combined effort show, collab show between us and Talking Kentucky. On New Year's Eve at the same time, Kentucky and Louisville play basketball. And then at the same time, Iowa and Kentucky play at the Music City Bowl down in Nashville. And we're talking about doing a post-game show with Talking Kentucky. That's a show that they do normally. They do a post-game show. And I figured they would be wanting to do a post-game show that day anyway. So we're going to join them and kind of collab with them and join that post-game show with Talking Kentucky.
All right, I got a question for you. Serious question. Who has more points? Louisville basketball or Iowa Kentucky combined?
I'm not sure. I'm really listen. If there is ever a you're kidding me. If there is ever a time, I'm not going to say a word.
Real Fresh Channel. I would like to be on that comedy one.
There's ever a time that Kenny will put all together for one day this year, it'll be that day. You just hide and watch. I'm telling you, they will shoot.
That's what's going to be awful about it.
They'll shoot the lights out that day. You will. They'll throw it in from everywhere, anywhere. I don't care where it is. It'll just right in there.
It'll be just as stupid as the Cheez-It Bowl.
Not trying to down them while you're ahead, but I get it's a rivalry game. But this Louisville team is really bad, like really bad.
Listen, I ain't going there. I ain't talking about it like that. I ain't saying a word. I ain't saying another bad word about this Louisville team until January 1st. I'm just not, because I know what's going to happen. It's the truth. It happens to Kentucky so many times. Hammond, you know I'm right.
You are.
All right, y'all. I'm going to wrap this up. It's been fun. It was also fun talking about Coach Leach. Wished it was under better circumstances or better terms. I want to kind of end the show. He's got a wife and several kids.
Four kids.
Three
grandkids.
His one daughter is an MD, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he had a law degree, so they were a smart bunch. So I just want to say
he taught a class at Washington State.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yep.
I
just want to say prayers to the family, to the Leach family. I know that they've got a lot of stuff to deal with this week. Mississippi State, prayers to the Mississippi State family as well. They're going through a lot. The not just the team, I mean, the players as well, having to deal with this. They are supposed to be back on campus on Thursday, I believe, and they're supposed to have their first practice on Friday. This is just after, their coach dies and passes away. So it's got to be a lot on their plate. So just kind of want to end it with that. And hopefully you guys will end this with a win and can ride off on the pirate ship in the real Quest Bowl. That's how I wanted to end it. So, like I said, find your inner pirate, guys.